Hello, people. Today, let us talk about ghosts. Okay, and not just ghosts, but my take on the ghosts and what do they really mean for me, and of course for us. And what does ghost stand for in our day-to-day lives and affairs? And we will even talk about ghosting. Okay, so first of all, ghosts in many other Indian languages are known as bhoot and pret, and they usually have a very negative idea. I mean, they have a very negative narration around them. Okay, so what does it really mean that they have a very negative narration around them? It means that there is a lot of negativity, there is a lot of sad ideas that might or might not be true. Okay, now um, I have a lot of ghost stories, quite a few experiences that are probably supernatural, and I just can't define that. I mean, those experiences. No, there are no normal explanation behind those ideas and incidents, but they have happened to me, and I will tell you everything in details. Now, ghosts are, to define them, are, like let's say today somebody is dead, okay, and ghosts are an apparition or an image that people see of those people, of those dead beings, okay, and they are like this shadowy, whitish figure and those that you can see sometimes in the dark. Okay, so out of all my favorite, like I told you, I used to live in Bangalore, and there is this place that has uh, Bengali food. What is it called? It one is Bangaliana, another is a little bit costlier. And what was that place? I forgot. I will look it up, and I will put it in the comments probably. So this place has a poster everywhere about different kinds of Bengali ghosts. Okay, so one is Mamdo Bhoot, another is Mecho Bhoot. So Mecho Bhoot, that MECHOBHOOT, Mecho Bhoot is a ghost that is usually hunting for fish. Mamdo Bhoot is something that is a scary creature. I think it is a lost uh, child ghost. Okay, the child that has been lost and probably is dead. And also, like there is Brahmodoito, which means this extremely knowledgeable and powerful ghost, or almost like a demon-like figure, which is out there, and it has its space somewhere in a very secret and a very protected and isolated area. And it, while alive, this entity, this probably a person or some very knowledgeable human being, they had a huge amount of knowledge and power, but they were also hungry after power and knowledge. And they, when they died, they became Brahmodaito. But I really wonder today, like, we, the people of 2025, we have grown to be so powerful and knowledgeable as well. I mean, here comes the industrious, productive person out there, which is me, and also like a lot of people out there like me. I'm sure that you have a lot of knowledge, you love power, you love good things in life, you're productive, industrious, smart, and intelligent, and you are a probably you're a reader and pursuer of knowledge. And like, of course your soul will be extremely hungry and running after power all the time. So yeah. And it is sad when these we lose these people. We should work on having more human beings like this and protecting them at any cost. Okay, so let us get back to the topic of ghosts. I really mean to keep this topic as light-hearted and happy as possible, but yeah, sometimes some very serious issues might just peep in. So bear with me, anyways. So, there are these ghosts that have always been a part of our storytelling. Like, I remember listening to Sunday Suspense for a very long time. Every Sunday, whenever I would have some time, I would play these stories and I would listen to them along with my parents. Okay, and whenever I am traveling somewhere, I would use, back then we used to have these, we still have those wired earphones, and I would put one on my mother's ear, put one on mine, and I would keep on listening to the ghost stories and travel. And I remember that there was this Calcutta book fair, and I was not in Calcutta because I was in school, and my school is in a very small town. And I was in Calcutta book fair. My father was in Calcutta. He was working over here, and he called me up and he asked that there is a book fair going on in Calcutta. Would you like me to get any book for you? And I told him that get me a ghost story book, which means get me a in Bengali I told him আমাকে একটা ভূতের গল্পের বই কিনে দেবে, and it was this very thick ghost story book, and it is still with me. Its covers have they need serious binding, but then so I had this very thick book, and I had a lot of favorite stories from them. There was this one story where there was this doctor, and this doctor was, you know, like she was this intern. I remember the story. It was so vivid, and I loved these stories. This person, she was an intern, and she was working at a hospital, and sometimes she would, like, while doing that study on human anatomy, she was working with skeletons and bones, and sometimes she would have these bones that that she would notice that they were going, like, I mean, like she had these other small bones from a collected skeleton, and these bones were collected inside a jar and it was sealed in the laboratory. And and sometimes she would return to the laboratory to find that the bones were missing from the jar. And like there was no explanation around it other than the fact that the apparition, the ghost of the person to whom the bones belong, they would come and get the bones out. And there was this another story which I remember, and it was something that there is this little pond in front of a person's home, and there is this family, and another family comes to visit them, and there is this little pond, and they go out, and they see that this uh, this, what can I say, crazy uh, creature is coming out of the pond. Okay, and that creature just wanted to haunt the entire household, and how these people were getting a little scared, and how they reached out for help, but then people did not believe them, and eventually what happened is that people lost uh like, I mean, they lost connection with the neighborhood, and they had to live with the ghost in the pond, and that happened. And even though these are stories, but these are very scary. Another very vivid story. which I remember, and it that particular story, remember, it haunted me for a very long time, okay? And I still remember it. I'd forgotten it, but now as I'm talking to you, I remember it. So this story was that this person, what can I say? Like this person is traveling. I mean, it was the setup of the story was a long back, it was the time when we used to wear old fashioned clothes, etc. So they would come to this like this student, they were traveling from Calcutta to a village where their hometown is, okay? And when they were going back, they had met a priest, or I think it was a priest or a guardian, who had this sixth sense which can see ghosts and other entities, okay? And they stop by that place, and then they say hello, and then they move ahead, okay? And this person, this guardian, they give them a thread or some kind of a amulet to tie it around their hand. And when they leave that place and they go ahead, okay, they visit a mosque, they visit this student, he visits his mosque that he usually visits, and he goes there and he meets these old people that he has always seen growing up, and they tell him that you have this and that issues ahead, so how about you take another amulet? And he takes that amulet and he ties to his arm, and they go ahead in the route, and they reach the village, and this person shows it to their neighborhood that I have these two amulets because I have been to this guardian's place and also to the mosque, and both of them told me that we sense something very odd around you, and if you take this amulet it will be just fine. And then they go ahead with their days, and so interestingly, this student didn't have anyone around their family. I mean, this student did not have any family members. Okay, so what happened is that like this person was living alone in his home, and this reminds me of my father's mother, my grandmother's house help. When sometimes she goes back to this Sundarban, she tells that she lives alone with her son, and you know unless and until her other daughters are coming to visit her, it is a bit difficult because she has to do things alone. And I have seen a video of her showing me around the house, and it is pretty lonely, isolated, kind of like a forest, and she lives there alone. It is a bit scary. Anyways, so they coming back to the story, this person, she like this student, they like it is the vacation, it is the holiday, they stay restive in the village and they do work, and like he sits to study. But one night when he is asleep, he feels a very heaviness on the chest, okay? And it is as if the person can't move, and suddenly the person sees that there is this figure, like sitting on the top of on the top of him, his body, and looking at, like peering at his eyes, and just about to like eat him alive, and full of hatred. This apparition had immense amount of hatred on their faces, okay? And what eventually happened is that this person, this student, this man, they managed to get out of the house, and even at night they managed to just rush out and go ahead and see for themselves that there is another very scary figure standing at the roof of the hut. And they come out, okay, of that, and they visit that mosque, and visit that priest. I mean, first of all, they got that vehicle, okay, at the middle of the night, and they visit that priest, and they warned him that and like that was the refugee for the night. They went, this student, they went to the mosque, and then they went to the uh, the priest's house, and then they told that, it is something that I have noticed. I did not think that you will believe it, otherwise, I would have just mentioned it to you that there is some issue around you. Like it is as if a very negative and a very sad entity is lurking around you, and like there is some bad thing going to happen to you. Probably you might have been murdered, but it was only because of that amulet that you could be saved. Like other, if you did not have that amulet, you would have fallen prey to their things. Now, like it is a very interesting thing, and it reminds me of something that a lot of these old people believe in. Not old people, but there was a time even I used to believe in this, that is called in Bengali it is called Nishi Dak, okay? Like there is this person who calls you, you hear them at night and you follow their footsteps, and it gets a bit crazy, and you just follow their footsteps, and there is nothing more you can do. You are just trapped in that situation, and you can't help yourself anymore other than do what they need to be. And this also reminds me of this act of somnambulism. So I'm not sure if I'm correct, but I think it is called somnambulism, which means the habit of sleepwalking, basically. So you are asleep, but then you are walking, you are moving on, and you are doing things. Okay, so what exactly is sleepwalking? So, people, have you ever seen anybody who is asleep but is also awake? Does that happen? Like, I don't remember, but I remembered, like, in my college, I used to wake up very early in the morning, okay? And sometimes I would go around the day with a lot of tiredness and sleep on my head, and that would um, make me feel very groggy throughout them. But I don't know instances of people sleepwalking, like they are still asleep and they're walking. But I know that there is this I had this friend, okay, from school, and she would often tell me that yes, her parents would find her sleepwalking. Like she would come out to the balcony on the street sometimes, even when she is asleep. I don't know what is this a psychological disorder? Is it something that maybe we can talk about, discuss, and help people with? I don't know what it is, but it is what it is. Another story I would tell you. I was in Hyderabad, okay, and I had just left my job from Concentrix in Bangalore, and I was in Hyderabad, and I was just like there with a person. And the thing is that we had this whole um plan, okay, like we would travel around the entire city, and it was a very full-fledged plan, okay, with this person. So she and I, we were talking for a very long time, okay, and at night, like I remember we were talking till 1, or we were talking till 2, okay, and we had eventually fallen asleep. So we wake up at 2:22 a.m. in the morning, and we woke up to these noises, okay, like the noise of the chum chum, that noise of that heavy and thick anklets, like the dancers wear usually. And I asked her that, are you here? Like, I was sleeping, and I looked at her, and I noticed that even she was looking at me, and I was very scared, okay. And then, like, both of us were scared, and I asked her, like, are you like, did you hear? And she also asked me, did you hear that? And I turned on the lights, because we had turned off the lights of the entire area, and we turned on the lights, and we felt that there is something, like I could tell that there is something um on the that living room area, okay. and also that there is something going on in the other room. I was very scared, and I told her all these things, and she told me that like she keeps on hearing these noises every now and then, even before I was there, uh, taking a little bit of vacation with her. Then eventually, what happened is that uh, you know, like sometimes I would hear that there are these noises coming from the terrace, as if people are dancing, like dancing, like crazy dancing noises coming from the terrace. But when we would rush ourselves to the when we would rush ourselves to the terrace, we would find nothing. It is completely empty. And like it has happened once again, like twice I heard that. That was the first thing I kind of remember, uh, being a little blunt over here, that it is the most supernatural thing that has happened to me till date. But then there is another thing, like we were back, like this is me back at my school, and I was there, okay, doing my like I was working. I mean, it was a very stormy day. I think it was summer, and probably it had stormed the day earlier. And eventually, what has happened is that there was this power cut. There was the load shedding. The fuse had gone out in the entire phase. Like how these electricians and these people would tell, right? পুরো phase এ light চলে গেছে. Okay, so these like we would find that these were the times when it is the most lucrative to talk about the ghosts. So the thing is that like we were sitting around and we were talking about ghosts because there was a power cut, we had less work, etc. And we went ahead, and we were just sitting there quiet, like we had spoken a lot about ghosts and all of us were tired and we were sitting quiet. Suddenly I could hear this, like a sigh from the garden out there. So that house had a attached garden, and there was this place where from we heard a sigh, like, and it was a very feminine voice, and I was very scared. Okay, I will not forget that issue ever. Okay, I was very scared, and I felt that it, like, I mean, everybody just spoke up that did you hear that? But we went out in the garden and there was no one. That was the first such a supernatural experience that I ever had. And then again, there was this issue that I had, not an issue but an experience, that I was at this place, okay, for some very long time. And I think it was a, yeah, it was a neighbor's house. And like suddenly I felt it, as if there is a nudge to, like, I felt the moment I entered, I felt like I should leave the house. Like I should leave the house. Why? Because the house doesn't belong to anyone. And it is as if like it there was this feeling inside that the house must be vacated, and etc etc. And throughout the time I was sitting there, I've had a feeling that the house must be vacated. Okay. And I don't know how to explain this, but like whenever I go to this person's place, I have this feeling. There is this other incident, like on the terrace in this building. Okay, on the terrace in this building, you know, I had a like the terrace of my building has a lot of ghost stories, by the way, like lots of experiences. But one thing which is that like we have a lot of ropes on which we put out our clothes. Okay. And towards the eastern end, not the eastern end but towards the northern end of the terrace, I have a feeling that there is somebody standing. Okay, like a very faint figure sometimes I can see. And since I don't know, like, do I need to believe in it? Do I need to not believe in it? But it is something that I'm telling you is that I see it. That faint figure is there, and I can't quite put my uh, like what can I say? I can't quite define the whole idea, but I feel it. And for very long, I have kept it to myself. I didn't want to be the person who is superstitious and believes in ghosts. And because, my parents are very like that. They are very practical, and they are very modern, and they don't like to believe in these things. They don't even like me to talk about these things because they think that it will deviate me from my work, and which I completely agree that, like, these things will deviate me from my work. Okay. So, the thing is that we have these like, I had a feeling that there was this uh figure right there. And eventually, like, one day I was sitting on the terrace with another flatmate, and we were just taking the sun, and could feel, like, I could feel that there was some movement from, particularly from that northern area. And suddenly, this person, this friend of mine, she spoke up and she pointed it towards the north, and she told me, um, do you think that there is something there, like, I feel like there is something standing over there. And I was like, till now I have kept it just to myself. I have not spoken about it to anyone, to my parents, to anyone at all. And I had a feeling that, this is true. That, I mean, then there must be something on it. Then again, like, there was this. So does it mean that I'm living in a haunted house? Well, it does, right? But how does it make me feel to be living in a haunted house? I feel excited. Like, today, if I can go out and tell one of my friends that I'm living in a haunted house, I would be very much excited. Why? Because of all the adventure, all the fun-filled ideas around these ghostly and supernatural adventure. So here is one thing, people. I know that I am talking about something that is way out of normal, and you might or might not be happy with it. But please take a note that I don't, like, like, of course, I want to be very careful about your feelings and emotions, and I do not really want to make you feel scared or anything. But of course, there is this thing that, like, uh, yes, it is scary, I understand, but I'm just talking about ghosts because I wish I could, like, sit on a ghost discussion, and, those days of power cut and etc. So, this reminds me, talking about the power cut, of our topic around climate change. Okay. So, I know that, ghosts, climate change, how does that relate? Um, have you ever thought that if we could have more power cuts, okay, more darkness, then our lives will be a little more full of respite. We will be able to speak to each other. We will be able to have a little bit less work. I remember that once I was in this place, and, like, we were all very busy working. Suddenly the power went off, and we were like, of course, it had a, like, we were being less productive, but then suddenly we could just sit back and discuss these things. Okay. And we could feel happy about the ghostly discussions. Okay. Now, coming back to the topic at hand. So, climate change and ghosts, right? I wish to go back to those days, sometimes, so that we could have more cooler weather, cooler climate, and yet I don't know how to do it because the power cuts, like we used to have power cuts and they were actually very hot. But also we used to just go out, like sit on our balconies and terrace, etc. And we would feel that there is some kind of respite. And it was a lot more cooler, it was a lot more windy. We were like, I remember going on to the terrace and sitting and having, much more cooler nights. So if we are considering power cuts, that they are a kind of okayish thing, right? We can deal with them for some time. So what is easier? Is it easier to deal with power cut or is it easier to deal with increasing bills? Well, for me, I think I need to educate myself a bit more on this. I don't know. I think um, I would rather pay more electricity bill than to go through recurrent power cuts. But as I make this statement, people, I also get a lot concerned that when we, like have these uninterrupted power supply, there are so many offices out there, our each of our households, they have so many um, uh, things that run on electricity. Where from are we generating electricity? Okay, where are these uh, electric plants? Okay, which river are we getting our electricity from? What is the mechanism? Maybe we need to learn a lot on it. But then, like, I'm aware that we cannot live without electricity or something like that. But I'm also aware of something else, and that is uh, the fact that we might or might not be uh, able to control something that we are not controlling now, right? So, how about living in a bit of a shared space so that we can live on and share our resources and put very less pressure, I mean, a little bit of lesser pressure on the rivers out there and on the dams out there so that we can live in a more harmonious area. See, people, from my knowledge, what I have gathered over the years, uh, like the dams, yes, of course, they are great infrastructures. They employ our engineers, geologists, etc. The problem with the dam is that sometimes we don't get to control the flood. And I have seen recurrent floods and what they do to the people who are living close to the coastal areas. Okay, so this makes me very concerned, feel very concerned to those house helps that I see every day coming from our Canning area, and I feel very sad and sick inside to think that where they are living, it is so much. What can I tell? It is so much prone to the climate change issues because of you know loss of trees, etc. It is so much prone to flood uh, because of the many hydel pumps. It makes me feel a little sad that we human beings, like if I were concerned about the many benefits that a hydel pump would bring, I would construct one after the other hydel pumps. Probably I would build a river just to fill it with a hydel pump. But then at the same time, I also feel concerned that like the natural calamities that these hydel pumps bring to the world. Okay, and it makes me feel very scared at the same time that if we are not getting into a conversation, we are not working at the same time on it, then we might be feeling a little behind, and these natural calamities uh, might just take over, and we might just be subjected to mercy and a nightmarish life, right? So yeah, that is my take. And also there are two, three points about power cuts and climate changes. So when there used to be cuts, we would just open the windows, enjoy the nightlife. That was a different nightlife, right? That was a very unusual rustic nightlife where we would just observe the shadows, the darkness, and the wind flowing in from the window. But then suddenly nightlife has changed and we have very less power cuts, and like the heat is increasing every day, our electricity bill is increasing every day. What is it that we are up to? Okay, is it something inevitable? Is it something that is the only solution for humanity, or can we do something about it? Let's figure out. Okay, so coming back to the topic of ghosts. Okay, now here is a very interesting take, that when I sometimes I was having a bit of a vacation during COVID, and like it was during the first phase of unlock. Okay, like mm, these places, these hotels and restaurants, they were just being opened. Okay, and I was sitting there, and I heard a noise, like, in the next room there was this very crazy kind of a screeching sound throughout the day. And as I looked from the window, there was no room at the other side. And yet I would keep on hearing a screeching noise. And I asked these room service people that, can you please help me a bit, like what is this noise? And they told me that we heard it sometimes from the neighborhood. I was so scared, I didn't want to talk about it, and I vacated the room the next day. And I asked my father, like I complained about it to my parents, and then they told me that maybe these ghosts are doing a bit of work from home also, because of how they are scared of the outside world. They are seeking refuge in these hotels. And yeah, so that is very funny. And at the same time, like our grandmothers, they have a lot of ghost experiences, ghost stories to tell us, right? So my grandmother sometimes, like my granny, my mother's mother, she told me that she was uh, in this house which kind of resembled a bungalow, and the surrounding area was very isolated, and there were other houses, like houses far off, okay, in a very far, like after a lot of distances. Okay, and in between there was this dense forest. So sometimes she would go to bed, and at the very odd hours in night, she would hear these noises of people pulling out the water through the bucket and putting it out on their garden, putting it out on their garden, like somebody was cleaning the courtyard of the garden. And my grandmother, their people would rush out immediately to check what is happening, but then they would see nothing. Everything was just fine, the courtyard was completely dry, etc. So the thing is that people, like this would happen in a very recurrently. And sometimes she would go out thinking that, like there was this I mean, even from the neighbors, like this is how it is, like there was this bungalow, forest surrounding, and there was this other bungalow. Okay, where like sometimes these people, okay, uh, from the bungalows, from the houses, they would tell during the gatherings that, like I am seeing this little bit of lights flashing by the forest. It is as if somebody is walking, but then there was nobody walking around. Okay, and there was this little bit of flashlights that were making its way through it. And yeah, that was it. And they would sometimes go out immediately to check, just to find that there is nothing out there. And yeah, that is what She would tell me these stories and I would get very scared. And, like recently I have been to this place along with a friend of mine. And on the way, she told me a story that there is this female that people keep on seeing in that area. Like it is a neighborhood that is very close to mine, and it is her home where her brother lives. And sometimes there the people would see a female wearing jeans and a white shirt, and her hair tied up very neatly among the trees, the gardens, and she would move here and there. And then suddenly one day, while sitting to eat, she told me that she heard this thing that her brother was hearing this noise. Okay, that her brother was hearing this noise where there was it is as if there is somebody walking up and down the stairs. And as her brother went down to look at the stairs in their home, they found out that it was that lady, and that apparition of that lady that people hear, see. And the moment they go to ask her that what is it, they see that that shadow has just passed. So the thing is, people, uh, I as I speak about these incidents, there is this very recurring idea about a ghost, that there are some um, creatures and living entities who have been in trouble for a very long time. Suddenly, they just want to get rid of uh, their pain, and they want to put it across to us. That is the feeling that I get. That otherwise, why would they lurk? Now, why do I say creatures? I say creatures because of another incident from my building. Is that like there is this auntie of mine, this neighbor auntie, and she's very close to my heart. And one day she fainted, and she would often she was I mean I'm talking about some 10 years back. Okay, she would often get fainted. Okay, and she would lose her senses. She would talk in a delirium. She would sometimes hallucinate, point out to things that we could not see. I was not here back then. I was at a different space. I think I was mm, in in school maybe. Yeah, I was in school, and yeah. So what happened is that they call these people, and suddenly, like, they call these people, and these people say that there are the ghosts of some animals lurking around. These animals they get very uh, less attention, and these animals, it is as if they are asking for attention. Now I don't know if this is getting very dark, but I know for sure that I mean I don't know, like, I mean, I've heard a lot of stories where animals, the souls of the animals, they haunt. And like, there are many stories around these animals that come to us, they haunt us. And you know there is this thing that um what can I say, like, there is this very vague feeling indeed that I get from the terrace, that it is as if there is something, some beastly, some animalistic creature sitting at the top of the water tank. Sometimes I go to the terrace in the evening to make videos, to talk about things, to look at the birds. I don't know how I will feel about it from now, but that is true. Okay, so, and I feel bit like, these monsters, not monsters, I'm sorry, like, for those people who are okay with, like, the idea of beasts and heavy animals out there, and they do not feel scared. It is for them. that I also feel concerned that if it is really the soul of an animal, then what is it trying to put across to us? Is it trying to say something? Is it trying to warn something to us, some warn against something? I don't know what it is. But again, this reminds me of a incident that you remember the tsunami that happened around 2004 or 5, I think. And like it was around this time that the tsunami, that the tsunami, I think, uh, happened, and our ocean waters were thrown upside down, etc., etc. Suddenly, I just realized this one thing that you know the dogs and the animals, they have been acting very strange for a very long time, right? I remember this thing from my childhood that whenever there is something odd, okay, the animals would go a little mad. Like the dogs would howl, and the birds, they act weird. Like one day I remember there was this like I had a habit of walking for 2 hours straight on the terrace, and I have stopped it recently. I mean, I've stopped it for a few years now. Why? Because of this particular incident, like I was there, and I suddenly, like like how these birds, they make a pattern and they fly back to their nests during the evening. One day I started to notice that there were these a lot of crows, a lot of crows just hovering over this particular household, okay? Like crazy. Like, and I felt so scared, and it was just a few households ahead. And like, as I tell you, I feel thrilled, scared, exhilarated that, these crows, they were as if they would break through the window and they would get in and they would do something to that, and they got a lot scared. And like, but then interestingly, there were no one. There were no one out there reaching out and coming out of the windows or shooing the birds away. It was a very scary sight, people. And after a few days, we could hear that there has been a death and, of course, a suicide in the home. And it was a sad incident. I'm not going to give you the details, but then I saw it, and I don't know. It is a very, like, the discussion is getting darker and darker every day. Now, um, like, I wish like when I heard the news, I wish I could go ahead and tell it to, these neighbors that, but then I didn't because I didn't want the environment to go bad. Now, another thing is that there is this. What can I say? There is this, uh, like, have you ever passed by some abandoned areas? Like, uh, I have a, um, I have a habit of taking a walk every now and then, and I see that there were these abandoned areas, like there is this small abandoned little bit of patch of land with an abandoned home. And I kind of have a feeling that, like, maybe there is somebody living inside, and like, I mean, escaping the eyesight of the usual people. And and it is a, of course, it is just a feeling. And also, like, what can I say, it is a bit scary. But then there is this another incident that I have heard from my father's mother, my grandmother, that when she was, in this place, okay, called Radha Mohanpur, and that was the small village where, my parents lived. And she would sometimes, like, we didn't have these taps and other water pipelines and systems back then. She was very young when she was married to my grandfather, and she had gone out to this pond, and she started to notice that, there were some very bright light around the area, around the pond. And then she walked around and she did her work. Maybe she was washing the utensils. But then eventually that light started to take a shape. I don't know if it is something that had made her think that way or it was real, but this is what she told me. And then, like she would stand there and she was seeing these two hands with very bright lights around them, holding on to the trunk of a tree and trying to call her. And immediately she came back to her home and she reported the incident to her mother-in-law. And so and then she told her that that entity is usually seen around the pond. Don't go alone near the pond. And yeah, so I'm sure that after this you would be craving a little bit of ghost stories or something. But I really feel scared to go up on the terrace. After those two incidents, I felt a bit scared to go up on the terrace. And after all these stories I heard from my grandmother regarding that very bright figure, I kept on thinking that maybe I just, like maybe all the ponds out there would have something like that. Also, at the same time, I was just a bit, uh, like, what can I say? Like, you know, is there something odd with ghosts and stairs? Like, there is something a bit scary, like bit eerie about the stairs, isn't it? It is like wherever I have been to, like banks, households, hospitals, schools, office, stairways are always these a bit, you know, scary. Like not scary, it is as if there is something going on and it's always dark and spider webs, but I always feel a bit jumpy and uncomfortable around the stairs. I don't know, and it is called. I think there is a phobia. That is the phobia of stairs, and people do complain about it a lot. But I mean, there are some people who have the phobia of stairs, and yeah. So I have, but I've not heard many out there who say that like I have the fear of stairs, but I do have. I have a fear of stairs, and I feel like the stairs are going to break apart. It will give in, or something will happen. And yeah, like whenever, like today, whenever I picture a stair, feel a little. I feel kind of, like there is a feeling of suffocation around the stairs. So, anyways, like there is this another feeling that I have at times. It is, like I mean, have you ever had any uh, friend who have said that they were thinking of something and the thing has appeared in front of them? Like probably they were thinking of some people and they have immediately called. Like it has happened to me many times, and yeah. And then at the same time, I have also noticed that, there are some uh, people who complain about sleep paralysis. And also, sleep paralysis has its own, what can I say, dual explanation. Like one explanation is that sleep paralysis happens to those people who are stressed and who have anxiety and they can't sleep well at night, and sometimes their body stays awake but their brain doesn't stay awake. They're asleep but their body is awake, or it might be they are too tired to express themselves, and that is when they get sleep paralysis. But there is also a supernatural explanation to sleep paralysis, and that is that like it is as if a ghost or a entity is sitting at the top of your body, like the story I mentioned about that student. So there is this ghost that is sitting around on the top of the body or around the body, and they kind of try to choke them and stop them from talking and scare them to extract something out of them or to hypnotize them, and that is called, and that is why people get sleep paralysis. But I don't know what to um, say about it, because I don't have about this of about all these incidents. I don't know what to say. I can't make a judgment, because people, please note that I have experienced this, but I can't put it out there thinking that I have felt this happen, because like, it is not something that I can. Uh, it is not something that I can. What can I say? Prove. But then yes, there are many, like. Have you seen those movies with those planchette boards, these Ouija boards, or the other boards where these entities they come and they tell you what to do? And like, I have heard that there was this person. What is the name? The writer, and they would gather in England. I think it was this English writer. I don't remember the name. They would gather and they would do a lot of planchette seances to speak to the ghosts, and yeah. And like, I think after this video, I'm going to just, like, what can I say? Play loud music and feel a little bit relaxed, because I feel a bit scared talking about these ghosts. But then at the same time, I can tell you that I have had these experiences where I would be very much scared alone in my home, probably because my both my parents were outside doing something, and I would sometimes speak out loud to myself, talk to myself, feel happy about whatever is going on, try to feel happy about whatever is going on. And like, maybe I would play very loud music, very pop and jazz music, to get the feeling of being watched, or somebody is out there in the other room feeling. Okay. And at the same time, people, I can tell you what you can do to get these feelings out of your mind. Okay. First of all, see, if you are alone in a space and you feel that you are being watched or something is odd, don't just stand there thinking that you will be happy, and you will have a good old experience with the ghosts, etc. Maybe you can just walk away. Maybe you can just like, I remember there were many incidents when I was feeling very scared, and I was like, okay, my idea is to just walk away of this scene. And like, and I would walk away and reach out to a person, like, maybe you can just hop into whatever workable clothes you have and just visit a neighbor and talk to them. And if you're alone, like if your parents or whoever you live with are outside, and then maybe you can just go out there and like, get busy a bit, leave the home, maybe, if you're feeling that. Also, sometimes it is important to note, my people, that a lot of issues like loneliness, depression, anxiety, hypertension gives rise to hallucinations. Or if you have been in a very close space for very long, you might start to hallucinate and think of ghosts and whatnot. And a slightest bit of spur in the environment might just irritate you, and you might just think that, oh god, what is going, I don't understand. And you might think that you don't like, you are not normal, that you're seeing ghosts and you have a sixth sense, etc., etc. But it's okay if you have a sixth sense, you can see ghosts, you can see dead people, etc. But it is also important to be functionable, to be workable, and to be talking about ghosts, you need to be alive and healthy, right? So maybe, I mean, don't get into a phase of delirium, delusion, uh, and like, you are just out there chasing ghosts and ghostly ideas. But then at the same time, you can also just be happy that like these ghosts are, like, I mean, maybe they are trying to say something, right? They are trying to say something, that there is something very odd. So, what is it that they are trying to say? Are they trying to talk about climate change or something? I don't know. Maybe we need to figure it out. Uh, but then at the same time, we can very much stay connected, stay close to the ones we love, and figure more about ghosts. Get on a bit of adventure. Get on that uh, roller coaster ride of thrill, and feel super happy with the fact that those invisible friends do exist. So yeah, that's for today. I will tell you more and more about ghosts as I find more experiences, more stories from the people around me. Stay connected, people.